Thank you for tuning in. This is your girl, Brandy J, with Real Wise Productions and a recorded original right here on Podbean. I don't know if many are aware, but within the black community, with black men and black women, it has gotten so very, very real. And from where I sit, where it kind of stemmed from, which has always been building its way up to, but it took on a life of its own. And not pinpointing or pointing fingers or saying this is the reason, but let me just speak to the people that can use their common sense to understand and to break it down. Now, rest in peace to a man that was very controversial and people just didn't know how to think or how to feel, right, when he was here, which was, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. Now, I listened to him because I can't make a judgment or decision or anything of the sort about a person without listening, which I saw many did. Many, you showed us the example of someone listening to somebody else and then having a thought or opinion about it and then making a fool out of themselves when they even literally addressed him. Like, had the whole audacity to go on his show, not even knowing anything he spoke about, but just, well, I heard. When even coming up with an opinion would require you to listen to him. So to actually go on his show, 9 times out of 10, it just proved his point. And then after he passed away, and then you found women out there dancing on his grave, having a whole passing party on his behalf, I was just downward. I was appalled, disgusted. And what it showed me was those very women were the exact women he was speaking of and speaking to. That's all they did was show their asses. Because that is just some down low, disgraceful shit. And that can only show the character of someone. That reminds me of somebody that will spike your food because you did them wrong. Am I lying? I mean, who would do such a thing? It's such an ugly way to show of yourself. And if any of those women ever sat back and tried to claim that they had some relationship with God and how they're godly and Christian, you're a lie. And if you are, they need to really rethink a lot within Christianity. Because if any of these women claim to be a Christian and claim to love the Lord, that clearly showed that was a damn lie. Especially when God says, love thy enemy, love thy neighbor. But to carousel and parade and joyous behavior because of someone's passing, you're a disgusting individual. You disgust me and disgust many. And that's just something you don't play with, right? Because let it be you or yours. You wouldn't like it. So therefore, do unto others as you would have them do unto your silly ass. Now let's carry it right along. Now, a lot of social media platforms just get to destroy each other on these platforms, right? We can't even get on a platform and use it in a positive way. As we know, within the black community, a lot of us don't want to hear a lot of shit that's true. We want to play the victim of racism and a lot of other things that are prevalent and true and real. But you don't get to play both parts. You don't get to play victim to something and then be a total ass on the flip side of it, right? And be the same character and person that is being displayed to you. It makes no sense, okay? It makes no sense at all whatsoever. So you have these sets, and that's why I took it back to Kevin, right? To his message. Because what I did notice about the things he talked about, right? And I could sit back and say, agree, not agree, agree, not agree. It's not even that freaking hard. You don't have to take sides. You don't have to be on the woman's side, on the man's side. You can just have common sense to know that some stuff was true, some stuff was just like, right? He wasn't perfect, and all the stuff he talked about wasn't on point. But he had points, right? But this is the part, and this is how black people a lot of time operate. We operate off of hurting one another, putting each other down, saying the most horriblest things to each other. What is that about? What I saw was when black men heard the way that he would talk down to black women, that's what excited them about it. They're like, yes. It wasn't about showing them a different way and getting them help and changing it. It was about put them bitches down and give them what they deserve, Well, that ain't even the point, because that ain't all black women. If you have any type of education or common sense, you can't put a hole on it and say it's all black women. You don't even know all black women. What it really says is that the women that you've been exposed to, those are the type of women that you have encountered. Do the simple basic math. It's called common sense. That's the same with women. You can't color the whole picture of your bad experience with black men and then just use the word black men as a sore. Like when you say black women these days, it's supposed to be different. Black women, not just women, but black women. They've made it sound like a bad word. And then now here, black women, their comeback. And now they want to do away with black men. Like, we have to segregate from them. You dumb broad. How is that helping when you have black children? You have black young men being raised and grown up. So what does that say about them? You can't even answer that shit. Who's supposed to raise them up? But the only way you get something raised up in the correct way is to raise it up, to use your positive vibrations, your frequencies, to lift up something, not to tear down, which has already been torn down. All you're doing is condoning and pushing the narrative and actually making it okay for what has already been done to black people. The lynching, the horrific views and beliefs one has towards the culture and the race, you have just joined in. You have screwed yourself, right? So when I refer back to Kevin, it was only because of the ways he would speak to them. Now, if you pay attention to what he would speak of, he even said it himself, treating black women badly was how he learned how to deal with them. Because he said when you spoke to them in a certain manner, it didn't get him anywhere. But once he started realizing, I don't need, and started, start acting a certain way and speaking to them a certain way, that's when he got their attention. Nobody was saying he was lying, though. Don't want to hear that. A lot of times that is the case. You wonder why they act a certain way, because a lot of men tried one way and that didn't work. And when they spoke to you a different way, that's when your silly ass want to come around. But it's still up to a person to be able to decipher between that's not everybody's thinking. You still can't clump it all together as black women. That is the ignorant statements being passed around from black men and black women. You're going to have to narrow it on down and say some, or say the ones you've been exposed to, because now you make it seem as every black woman is that woman you speak of. And that's where our ignorance seems to keep thriving. And then we wonder why we're in the situation we are. We don't need the so-called white man anymore to do anything, because we do it to ourselves. We don't even want to talk about it, but we want to damn sure talk about the white man and what they done. But what about what you do? Proximity. Now, don't get me wrong. Those may be factual in some sense, but it's damn sure not an excuse of why black on black crime happened. Well, it's proximity. What the fuck? Do anybody want to be put on land of 40 acres with a mule with black folks that commit crime against each other because of proximity? You get what I'm saying? Well, use your sense here, people. Think about it. Don't use your, the part where you just don't want to look at it and you don't want to admit it, that this is the reality. We make it more about color a lot of times and use it as an excuse versus fighting against it. Literally, we condone that shit. Like, how can you say those things? How can you say the black man is worthless, but yet you have your father's black, yet you're raising black men? You think that's the answer? I can't believe the ignorance of people today. But this is what's going on. And then you get the groups with black men where they devalue black women. Oh, don't let them find out you're a single mom. You're the destruction of everything. Yet, instead of looking at the reality, like, yeah, black men do better off with a male or a father in the home. But that ain't the overall answer. Because what if the father in the home ain't that freaking well put together? And he is violent. They don't talk about that. A lot of times they just say you should have stayed with them. But they don't talk about, is he a healthy father, healthy black man? You see, another ignorant pole. that we just look over. So yeah, so just because you're a father and you're black, you should stay in the home, no matter what. They meant to say if it's a healthy father, because then what do you get? You hear it all the time. Men that have watched their mothers being beaten, and then it's carried along to their relationships as they grow up. So how well did that work out? And then we don't even put up the fact that a lot of people that had their father in the home and that still turned out to be not so right. It doesn't mean that just is the overall answer, because facts show. Now let's just step into the home of, let's just say, a white person or a young white male that had the father in the home, the mother in the home, had the family, was shot up at school or something, just speaking. So what does that say? Or is a rape? You understand the stereotypes, but then the statistics that we do get these things and we blame it on what you did or did not have in the home. But then we'll completely just rip apart. We won't even rip apart that type of family because we don't know any better. We're just not as smart as we think we are. We just speak and don't even think as human beings. But how many single moms? And for various different reasons why they're single. Because they have to have another party that's missing to be single. You can't just take yourself out of the blame game. Like she just became single all by herself. How stupid is that? For whatever reason the father is not there, it takes two. And it takes one to be removed somehow to be single. But the responsibility does not overpass you and just go along on the single mom. And then let's not dare talk about the children or the men that have been raised with a single mom that have done very well for themselves. So what it really comes down to is people just not knowing what the hell they're talking about. And when you remove God out of all these situations, you get this foolery. Because that comes first in the home. Look, because if that isn't the way, then look at it when you remove God from the home and you just leave it up to human beings, people. This is what you get, this fuckery. This is only part one of many parts. Just bringing it forward to the table and saying, damn, we got to do better. But the answer is not tearing each other down. And why is this the only race that seems to be really good at this? It's good at it. No matter what you put in front of us, from gender to religion, it's just damn near pathetic. And people get bent out of shape when you bring it to the forefront, but be real quick to want to bring another race shit to the forefront. Well, how about you hold some accountability and clean your shit up before you ever think that you can shed some light upon the treatment of your own people that look like you when you don't do much better.